So, from myself, I'd just like to welcome everyone to tonight's meeting. A truly international flavour to our meeting tonight. Loads of guests, but I know, Maureen, you would like to say a special welcome to our visitors this evening.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to our online meeting. It's something we do every fourth Tuesday. So we have a different subject every month. And this month, Shannon is going to give us a talk about a project that she's been involved with in Uganda, because we're also looking at a project in the Uganda with the same club, I believe. So welcome, Shannon. Also,
thank you.
Bonsoir, bienvenue à nos amis de Rennes.
Oh, merci beaucoup. Thank you very much, Maureen.
Merci,
We are happy
merci
to be
Maureen.
with you.
Et si vous pouvez parler doucement, slowly, you speak slowly, it's better for.
Yes, it's important for us.
We can send you the recording if you want to listen to it at your own pace.
Oh, okay. It's good.
Okay.
Mais la réunion se déroulera en anglais ce soir. Okay?
Okay, it's good
Merci.
for us.
And Darren, over to you.
Okay, so as I say, I'm hoping we may have a few more people joining us this evening, but we'll just crack straight on with the meeting for now, and hopefully they'll join us later on. As Maureen just mentioned, Shannon has given her blessings for us to actually record tonight's meeting, so the recording will be put up on our club Facebook page following the meeting. So it's going to be a great pleasure to introduce Shannon, who I've known for a few years now, met during lockdown through the various lockdown meetings I attended. As our own club members will be aware, we were approached recently by Henry in Uganda, who again, going back to the lockdown period when I was at Plymouth Rotary, we did a joint project, or we funded a project for his club in Uganda. He recently approached us at Roborough regarding a menstrual health project for young girls. But speaking to Shannon last month, she mentioned how her club have done a similar sort of project, possibly like the next stage on from this one, but it could be quite useful to hear about her project, her dealings with Henry and his club, and see what sort of crossovers there are, etc. So without further ado, it gives me great pleasure to introduce our speaker tonight, Shannon.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. I want to thank all of you who come to join us for this. I must apologize first because unfortunately I'm having many technical difficulties as well. So my presentation is going to be much more casual, much more conversational. And I invite you to interrupt me at any time if you have a question. And I will be doing my best to share some visual aids to help aid understanding of the things that I'm speaking through. But my apologies that I don't have a formal, slick and glossy presentation of slides. Okay. Also, I will be happy to make available proposals and reports and presentations that we've received from the Rotary Club of Kampala Kawempe over our last 3-year horizon relationship with that club that could help you understand better that project. But I will do my best to explain now. If you were similar to our club has just achieved a 100-year anniversary just this past July, and we celebrated with a end-of-year party that was also our centennial celebration. Well, 3 years prior to that, we met the Rotary Club of Kampala Kawempe because I was able to attend one of Darren's meetings while he was still at Plimpton. And at that meeting, Darren was sharing a report about their malaria support or their malaria project funding that they provided to the Rotary Club of Kampala Kawempe. I was impressed by the results. I was impressed by the the comments that we heard from Henry Nsamba at that time, and I made overtures to connect with Henry directly, to get to know him, to get to know his club a little better, and also eventually received a proposal from him for a project called the Hope for Mothers program. And with Darren's permission, I'm going to share the most recent iteration of this project as its proposal. Just to set context for you, we have most recently sent our 5th round of support to the Rotary Club of Kampala Kawempe for a 5th group of beneficiaries for this project. So let me share that with you right now. I'm hoping you all can see this. It's a PDF, and at the top it says Hope for Young Mothers Empowerment Project. Does everyone see this? Okay.
Yeah, we can.
So for those of you who are on mobile, you might need to turn your screen to see a little bit better. It's going to be difficult, but I want to share with you so you can see some of the images. Okay, so this project is specific to the Kampala area of Uganda. Kampala is their capital city, and the Kawempe area is the communities that are more impoverished in this capital city. Okay, so specific to Kawempe is areas that actually are very impoverished. Many of the residents live in shacks, in shanties, not very sturdily built domiciles, and many citizens of these communities are unwed mothers with children. And a community assessment by the club had determined that one of the best ways to improve the lives of these women and their children and improve the overall economic health of the community was to provide empowerment to the mothers themselves. And their model that they designed after extensive community assessments was a combination of moral and character building programs, in addition to legitimate vocational training. Okay, so the project itself was called Hope for Mothers. It's changed slightly to Hope for Young Mothers Empowerment, because as the program has grown and as it is aged over the last 3 years, they really wanted to focus on how the project should really empower these women with greater life skills so they can end the cycle of poverty for themselves. So the first thing that I noticed when I was first sent this proposal, and this is a much more developed, much more sophisticated version of the very first proposal we received, was that it was very, very well organized, and that the club had actually done extensive community assessments, going to the community and interviewing community leaders and also young mothers. Now, many of these young mothers don't have legitimate homes. They live in doorways with their children. They live alongside or behind buildings, and they will often turn to prostitution or other petty crimes. But what struck me as most heart-stopping was that, as Henry described, many of these young mothers would also subject themselves to being infected with diseases in order to become part of clinical studies for treatment drugs. So an example would be women who would be willingly infected with syphilis or gonorrhea in order to receive perhaps $50 American that would feed them for maybe a month. And then they'd spend the rest of their lives with this disease, being tested with drugs from pharmaceuticals companies out of either the European bloc or other communities in other countries. And this really just broke my heart. And I really wanted to give Henry a platform to tell my club about this issue and this particular proposed solution, or at least a pathway to a solution. And so that is this project. The Hope for Mothers Empowerment Project has grown over 3 years. And it's grown not just in the number of women that it's actually helped, but it has also grown in its prestige in that particular community and also district-wide in this area of Uganda. We have been very gratified since the very beginning to discover that Henry has been exceptionally responsive to any requests that we've put forth to him for documentation, for reports. I have a very, very full email folder of communications between myself and Henry on behalf of my club to monitor this project. And so what we've learned from my club is that it is vital to have a member of your club who will be actively engaged with the partner in Uganda to make sure that your own club feels very confident and feels that there is a worthy investment of trust in that community and in that club. To go back to the start of the relationship, when we invited Henry to do a presentation to us, I'm just going to show you some more pictures. When we invited him to present to us, he started off his presentation with a video of flood waters from rainstorms, basically washing away more than 50% of the community. As I said, most of the people in these lower slum areas live in very shaky, not very well constructed domiciles that would be completely destroyed by these floods. And I remember after this presentation, one member of my club specifically asked, well, what about drainage ditches? What about what other kind of civil engineering solutions could be found to help with this problem? And in communicating with Henry, we realized this was the drainage ditch. This is the city's solution to rain flooding. They were basically sentenced to living in a drainage ditch. And so it's not really a question of how to solve the physical problems of this geographical area. It was to provide a way for the women, for anyone who's part of this community, to actually escape the community, to get out of it and not be sentenced to life, constantly living with shaky, unsettled residential status. So the project, as pitched to us originally, was less than 3,000 American dollars was the request from Henry's club. So I showed you a picture of one of the women working on a sewing machine. This is a old-fashioned manual sewing machine where you put your foot on the pedal and you rock the pedal back and forth. That's one training aspect, which is tailoring. And then this image is showing you another aspect of the training modules, which is hair grooming. So primarily braiding for females in this culture. And then here is an example of what kind of detail that we get from the club about how they propose to use the proposed budget overall. So down to exactly how much they're going to spend on materials, on the zippers for the garments that they make, for standing dummies. And from the very first, we were very appreciative of the level of detail that was included in these proposals. So it wasn't just a letter with a dollar figure. It was a letter, a proposal that expressed the community assessment needs and then addressed all of the actual literal financial needs in very detailed accounting kind of inventory sheets like this. So this really helped my club feel comfortable that we were sending money to a partner that was going to use it ethically and responsibly and have integrity with their word. So I'm sorry that I'm scrolling through really quickly, but one thing that's important to know about this community is that these women, because they are impoverished and they usually are without homes, they are obviously mostly without childcare. So it is not uncommon for the women to bring their children with them to the program during the trainings. And you'll see that in many of the images, that most of the images include mothers with their children. But I wanted to show you this one in particular because of the way that Henry's Club makes sure that in their reports, they highlight for us that our club is getting credit for participating as a sponsor of this program. And then this one I'm really particularly proud of because this is as the program has developed over the last 3 years, and they've increased the number of resources that they have. They were able to procure these tailoring dummies, and the women were able to start creating garments that are, you know, frankly, I would love this outfit. So I was very excited to see that they're making something that is practical, that is sellable. And as I will show you soon, they are indeed actually starting to generate revenue from the products of these training exercises. And those monies are going back into the program. So that is the model of sustainability that we would want from a global partner in a project like this, is to make sure that it's not going to be 100% reliant on contributed funds, that they can actually generate some of their own revenue and put that money back into the project itself. Okay, so I just wanted to show that to you. I'm going to pause that. Does anybody have any questions at this point? Okay, thank you. So I'm going to go back.
We have got one question there, Shannon. Bruce, if you want to unmute yourself.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry,
thanks.
Bruce.
How successful, Shannon, were I saw your slide, the Tuesday classes, a chat with a Rotarian.
Yes.
How did that sort of work out? Was that very positive? Did it go well?
Yes, what I've heard from Henry is that it's actually, it's a twofold benefit. Number one, it helps reinvest some of the members of that club in the project because they get the opportunity to work directly with the mothers and impart their own personal stories. The Kampala Kawempe Club actually does have a very nice balance of male to female members. And so for the girls to have the opportunity to speak to a woman who is educated and is a professional in their trade, and a Rotarian is really kind of helping to set the bar for them in terms of the kind of success that they can have, and also to make sure that every Rotarian in that club is taking a part in the training, in the program itself, that it's not just a small committee of the persons who are monitoring and conducting things. It is the entire club that's getting involved. So it's really seemed to be, and they also, you know, serve them tea during these talks. So you're thinking about a group of women who are probably struggling with food security for themselves and their family. When they do something like this, it really helps them see that the entire club really has taken them into the fold of their community. You got to imagine that this is a very marginalized subset of this community, right? That there is stigma attached to being an unwed mother. And so when they do more fellowship activities like this, it really demonstrates to the women that their efforts and their commitment to the training program will benefit them in actual genuine community engagement and community uplift. They are really becoming, you know, in addition to that kind of programming where they have these nice one-on-one sessions with a Rotarian, they're also participating in the club's greater community projects. So when the club goes out and does a distribution of medical supplies or of clothing, they allow the mothers to participate and help be a part of the group that is making these efforts in the community. And it's just completely elevating their status as a part of the community. They're no longer just these unwed mothers in the corners, in the shadowy corners of the community, but they're becoming meaningful, contributive citizens in their community as well.
Thank
Is
you. That was
that-
a really detailed explanation. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you. Was there, I think, John Bailey, did you have a question for me? I thought I saw you. Are you good? Oh, I'll need you to unmute though, John. Can you unmute your, yeah, Mary's going to help you. Go ahead, John.
Oh, here. No, no.
No, you're muted. Do it again. One more time, Mary. There you go. Go ahead,
All
John.
right. You had a nice budget that showed up on one of your previous slides.
Mhm.
Can that be distributed by email so people can read it more carefully?
Absolutely. I'm very happy to send this particular proposal because I think it's the best and shining example of the kind of work that we get from Kampala Kawempe directly. To be honest, when I receive a proposal or a document from Henry, many times there are typos, there are grammatical glitches, and in sending it and sharing it to my club members, I might clean those things up a little bit, but these are very minor typographical issues that I can fix relatively quickly without making any substantive changes to the proposal. So I will be happy to share that with this entire group, and I'm sure Darren can help me distribute it to the right people. But I will share my email address with this group at the end of the presentation as well.
Thank you for that. Just one other quick question.
Sure.
The mothers that are there,
Mhm.
are they literate? Can they read in any language?
Great question. Thank you so much. And I'm definitely going to address that as well, because I wanted to share with everybody the timeline of it. One of the things that happened early in the horizon of this relationship with Kampala Kawempe is that we wanted to understand who were these mothers. Now, because they are now living mostly on the street with very little resources available to them, they've been oftentimes been expelled from their family homes. Most of them don't have a very developed education. Maybe the first few years of a primary school education, just very basic low-level literacy. In the project itself, we definitely are making sure that the women learn to write their names, learn some basic mathematics so that they can understand when they start to go out into the world and make money for themselves, that they can understand a receipt, that they can understand an invoice, that they can negotiate prices, things like that. So, and that's also happening, basic literacy, along with some basic computer skills, because it's almost impossible, even in these particular communities, for them to avoid the need for some computer literacy. So that is being addressed for all of the women on some level, but they do come from a range of education achievement. But I would say that the vast majority of these women have maybe a second grade education at the best.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. And please, I think I see Mrs. President.
Maureen, yeah.
Yes.
We found through Literacy in a Box that if you educate a mother, she'll educate her family. So it's important for the mother to be literate and numerate, to pass it on to her children.
Yes, thank you. I definitely see that, when we were presented with this project, that, we have this one area of focus for Rotary International with maternal and child health. Well, saving mothers, saving women and children. I mean, if all countries could start to focus more attention on this, we'd probably be living in a better world. But the education component of it is a little bit more difficult for this project because they can't necessarily just start school for the women. They want to really get them involved in a vocation so that in that 4 to 6 month horizon of the project itself, when they have completed and they graduate, and they give them a beautiful graduation ceremony where they are enrobed and they get a diploma, they can actually go out and get gainfully employed immediately. And to my understanding, Henry has said that it's more than 80%, somewhere between 85 and 90% of the women are employed as soon as they finish this project. So even if it's not, they're not becoming millionaires instantly overnight, they are gainfully employed, and they can actually start to impart the need for education and for skills and training to their children. And because they're actually becoming earners, they're getting an elevated experience of the community's disposition towards them. So it's really helping the community as a whole, in addition to helping these individual women. When we first got a list of the first class of women, I didn't just want to know who those women were. We asked for a list of their names, which Henry provided very quickly. I also asked him to let us know how many children for each of those women. And it was anywhere from 1 to 3 children. So what was really heartwarming for us was knowing that we weren't just helping 50 women, we were helping about 200 people in that community because of the inherent benefit that the children of those women would receive as well overall. Did I answer all of the questions? Okay, great, thank you. Yes, I see. Oh, I'll need you to unmute yourself when you get a chance. Okay, she's working on it. I'm going to start prepping another document to share. Oh no. I don't know if I can unmute. I don't think I can unmute you myself. I'm so sorry.
Darren, can you unmute Rosine?
Is it okay like that?
Yes.
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 Excuse me, it's not easy for me. This project seems very interesting, and our club in Rennes could be interested. But I don't understand how to take part with you. I understand that there is a club in the Kampala, Kawempe. There is your club in the Huntington Beach, perhaps Roborough, Plymouth Roborough, and perhaps Rennes with you. But how to do to take part all together?
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the question. I will say that in the short term, the project has been relatively small in terms of contributors to it. And as of right now, we are not actually looking for additional international partners. However, the new project that was pitched to Darren's club, and I believe maybe a few other clubs in your district, in that UK district, have been invited to participate in a new program which is specific to menstrual health. And it is a project that would be tangentially connected to our project, Hope for Mothers, because there would be the shared resource of the facility and the tailoring equipment. So as of now, the project, the Rotary Club of Kampala Kawempe is the custodian of all the equipment that is involved in the Hope for Mothers program. So that is the sewing machines. They now have a professional embroidery machine, all of the hair styling equipment, including the wash bowl, the dryers, the tailoring dummies, as I showed you, all of the practical fixed inventory of the project that has been procured over these last 3 years. But the new project, which I'm not sure if there's an official name for it, involves creating menstrual kits for women in some of these areas. And I think their goal is to create 2,500 kits to distribute to children. And I think President Maureen has more comments on that.
They're trying to produce reusable sanitary wear for girls to allow them to go to school during menstruation, because without that, they're not allowed to go to school.
Right. Right. So our project in Hope for Mothers would actually partner in that we would share resources. Now, I will be to give full disclosure, when Darren shared with me the new proposal from Kampala Kawempe, my first initial reaction was, let me make sure that this is not stealing, but taking resources from our project and double dipping. If I'm not sure if there's a cultural translation for that, but I wanted to ensure that it was still an honorable partnership, and that it would not rob resources from Hope for Mothers. And the response that I've received from Henry is that they've scheduled the program, if and when it is funded, that's the menstrual health program, that the resources of the sewing machines and the facility would be scheduled around the Hope for Mothers program. So Hope for Mothers works in the youth art facility Monday through Friday during the day. And the menstrual health project participants will go to that same facility and use those same machines in the evenings and on the weekends. And so they will be able to use the same machines, but they won't be using the same resources. They won't be using the same materials or the same inventory. Yes, President Maureen.
There could also be an opportunity for the women to provide the sanitary wear as well, as a trade.
Yes.
As an enterprise.
Yes, and I'm very pleased to be able to share with you. I'll try to do this quickly, Darren, because I think we might be running short on time. But we've had 5 separate proposals from Kampala Kawempe. We have funded them 5 times. But from between the second and the third funding opportunity, they have started to generate enough revenue with sales of some of the products that they have created. So that beautiful outfit, those beautiful clothings that they are making, they're starting to be able to sell those things and take that revenue and put it back into the program. So one of the questions and concerns that Darren and I shared when the new program was proposed, was if you're going to make 5 sanitary napkins, provide a few pairs of foundational undergarments and a pouch to put all these in for 2,500 girls, who's going to make, that's a lot of product, that's a lot of sewing, that's a lot of work. How is that going to get done? So the menstrual health project involves training, providing training for some people who will facilitate training the girls in making all of these garments. So before we get too far, let me share with you some of the budget information. Yes, President Maureen, please.
We've also got a copy in English of this proposal, Rosine, that we could send to you.
Oh, yes. I think it will be important for me to read all this project to understand it. And after I come back with you to discuss because I don't understand everything.
We're trying to create a partnership of several clubs to fund it.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, and as of right now, when I was shared that project proposal, I did communicate with Henry directly that I would not be putting forth this new project to my club because we want to focus our attention on the Hope for Mothers program, as it may eventually become a global grant project prior and probably well before the menstrual health project will. So in the short term, I wanted to make sure that we weren't muddying the waters from my club, so that our club funds would stick to the Hope for Mothers Empowerment project that is primarily vocational, and in addition to, you know, touching that area of focus.
I think what you said has given us confidence in dealing with Henry and his club.
That's what we really were hoping for, because I wanted to demonstrate to the UK clubs, or on any other European partners or any other international partners potentially for that this is a club that is truly small but mighty. They do amazing work in their community. Even while they're doing this Hope for Mothers project, they are hosting medical clinics. They are still distributing malaria nets. They are still distributing clothing that is donated from the less impoverished areas of the capital to the more impoverished and rural communities. And I am constantly humbled and in awe of how much Henry's club achieves on a weekly basis, well and beyond the Hope for Mothers project itself. I will say that, to my understanding, the Hope for Mothers project is very much Henry's baby. He is actually the son of a single mother. So that mother still managed to impress upon him the need to get an education. And Henry is actually an accountant. So he's definitely helped his club when it comes to designing budgets and when it's come to the financial fiscal reporting to us, which is terribly vital for my club, because I'm in a club with a lot of very smart people, and they would not just, you know, take it on a gentleman's agreement, and we need to see the numbers. And I myself have a master's of business administration degree, and when I look at these proposals, I crunch the numbers myself. I go off and I create my own spreadsheet and I tabulate everything, and I've really never discovered any kind of errors. What I've always asked for when it comes to details is just a better explanation, perhaps. We've found I've learned so much, I would say, a cultural education that I've received in interacting with Henry. One of the things that I learned early was that this time difference and how, you know, they're anywhere from 10 to 12 hours ahead of us. So early in my conversations with Henry, I was waking up in the morning, having my coffee, maybe a small, you know, pastry, and then trying to get him on the phone, not realizing that it was midnight in Uganda. And in order for him, and Henry does not live in an area where he has Wi-Fi at his home. Okay, so my Western privilege, was making a lot of assumptions that he could do whatever I could do. And when I realized that he was literally walking through the dark in rural areas, I felt very ashamed of myself for making those assumptions that things were so easy. And I committed to him that I would never ask him to walk in the dark through, you know, through dangerous areas to communicate with me. I will stay up until midnight so that I know Henry can speak to me in the light of day and be in a safe environment.
That's good to know.
Yeah. So I just wanted to sum up for you the finances of what we have done over the last 3 years. So our very first proposal from Kampala Kawempe came to us in the end of March of 2021, and we funded it just a few weeks later. We issued them just under $3,000. And at that time, it was about 75% of the project budget. The next round of funding was, the first time it was $2,910. And then that was 75% of the project budget. The next round was less of an ask. They only asked for $2,600, but it was 79% of the project budget. And at that time, that's when we brought up to Henry that we really needed them to start thinking about sustainability. How are they going to make sure that this project happens, even if they haven't gotten funds from somebody else? And so the next iteration was an ask for $2,645, not very much more. But because they had actually started to generate revenue, our contribution was only 62% of the project budget. So we appreciated this downward trend. And then the next one, the fourth round of support was $5,250, only 61% of their budget, about the same. And in between the fourth and the fifth round of support, the fifth round being the one that we just issued just last week, at the end of last week over the weekend, it has gone up to 68% of their budget, but we've actually given them authorization to add more funds to their ask. And I'll explain why. So over the last year and a half, we have been blessed to receive anonymous donations to our club's foundation specific to this project. So persons who have the kindness and the means to provide funds directly for this project alone, specifically earmarked in our club finances only for this project. And it has been about $10,000 that we've received from anonymous donors. And then in addition to that, we actually had a friend of our club. I'm going to share the screen. Sorry, 1 second. Let me hang on a second. See if I can share. I'm going to share my desktop really fast. I promise I'll make it painless. We have a club member. A friend of our club was so enamored of the program. I'm wondering if you can see this. It says Deborah Silveria's birthday campaign, Hope for Mothers. Can you guys see that?
Yeah, we can see.
Okay, so this she's a clinical psychologist here in the States. She's actually been to Kampala, Kawempe, and worked with women in this community who are suffering traumas of abuse and sexual violence. And she was so impressed with our relationship with them and the project itself that she asked me to create a fundraising campaign specific to the project. She had a big birthday coming up, and she said, I don't need a thing, but I would love for my friends and family to contribute to this project to help it. And her campaign generated just under $600 American for it. So in our most recent, I'm going to stop the share. In our most recent gift round of support that we sent to Kampala Kawempe, in addition to $5,000 that was an anonymous donation to our club foundation, we also tacked on that extra $595 to it. And what Henry was able to do was procure an additional electric sewing machine. Electric sewing machines are like purple unicorns in this country. They do find themselves able to get the old manual machines with the foot levers, but they aren't able to procure electric sewing machines quite so easily. They're prohibitively expensive. So we were able to fund that, in addition to adding more inventory supplies for the new cosmetics and soap making training aspect. Now, there are companies on the ground in Kampala that are engaging these women right out of graduation. And one of them is called Desire Beauty Products. This is a cosmetics company that makes hair grooming products and also just basic cosmetics. And the women in this project are also being taught to make soap and to formulate shampoos and hair products and things like that too. So our gift was much larger than the original ask from Henry. His original ask was $3,500, and I was able to give him the fantastic news that no, I have about $2,000 more I can send to you. Change your proposal and add what you think you need to enhance the program and make it even stronger. And it was just it always feels so amazing to be able to just make these gifts to them and see that we still consistently get fantastic reporting from Henry, that we can trust him to be responsive to me. I've probably communicated with Henry at least once per week over the last 2 years, but there's been periods of time where I've been speaking to him every day, especially as we've developed and finalized a proposal that I can then submit to my club for it. So I'd like to open it up to questions because I know I've been speaking for quite a while. Not seeing anything.
I think there was a question in the chat.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Let me take a peek. I will definitely share my presentation with everyone. So, or I will, if it's all right, could I share it with Darren and he could distribute it, or?
I was just going to say that, Shannon.
Okay.
Because I was actually going to type in the chat there that your
Okay.
actual talk tonight, I'll put a recording on our club Facebook page. But once you've sent
Okay.
out, if you could send me a copy of the actual presentation you've got there, and I'll send a copy of that. Plus, as Maureen suggested just now, a copy of the document that was sent to us with the project outline, in case any of our visitors here tonight with their clubs may hopefully want to help support us.
Yeah.
I know, for instance, that there's 4 clubs in our district who have already made small financial contributions, but if we could get a few more coming on board, then hopefully we can see this project over the finish line and get it moving.
And I definitely would want to make myself available to any club, any Rotarian in any club who might wish to hear from me directly, you know, just to provide this testimonial to for the Rotary Club of Kampala Kawempe. Truth be told, the first time I brought the proposal to my club, there were persons who were saying, well, we don't even know this guy. Why would we trust him? And, you know, we were in a very sad and dark time, that beginning lockdown of COVID. And I remember, okay, I did go to Rotary International and make sure that Kampala Kawempe was really a club. And I did see that Henry Nsamba was slated to be the incoming president of his club. And when I was on that meeting with I think it was my board members at the time, I said, number one, we have the funds. It's not like we need to go out and try to smash together a fundraiser all of a sudden. But these are what our funds are supposed to be for. Our club is blessed to have a foundation, and those funds are not supposed to be reinvested into the club. They're supposed to go towards charitable projects. And we did not really have our own independent international service project. So I really saw it as a really fantastic opportunity for our club to get involved in one. And really, I remember at the time, I think everybody was like one blink away from tears on a daily basis. And I was very passionate that I don't think there's any reason for us not to take this risk, because we have the Rotary International umbrella that we can trust. These are chartered clubs. This is a chartered club. And if you get to know them, you will find that they are very impressive in terms of the reach that they extend out into their community. When Henry came to me, I want to say it was about a year back, and told me a district governor came to him to see the project and said, well, what about the boys? I flooded with like some feelings at that moment. And I was like, are you talking about the deadbeat dads that don't want to help these women, you know, with their children? And I was like, okay, wait, it's not about my personal opinions. I took it back to the project and said, this is the Hope for Mothers project. So if you want to help the boys of the community, that's wonderful. Come up with a project separate from Hope for Mothers to do that. And to my understanding, there is now a project called the Young Men's Uplift program in that district that is probably district governor conceived. But I wanted to, you know, this is the thing that's really been nice for our club, I believe, is that I've been the primary point of contact for Henry, who is the primary point of contact for his club. And whenever we've had a conversation, he has taken it to heart, and he has made action in the direction that really protects the program for us. And it has inspired a tremendous amount of trust and confidence. So we definitely endorse the club. And I think that this the menstrual health program with the sanitary napkins, you are going to save women's lives. You are going to increase their capacity, their potential for success in their lives. If we start this way for these young girls, maybe less of them will become unwed mothers in their communities. Maybe they'll be able to finish school alongside their brothers and the boy children in their communities, and they will be able to get educations and, you know, make sure that they can escape the potential cycle of poverty that is so prevalent in these particular communities.
Well, thank you for that, Shannon. What I was just going to say, actually, some of the things you've just mentioned there brings back so many memories for me when I was president of Plymouth, when Henry first approached me regarding the malaria project. The sort of doubts your club had, I know members of Plymouth at the time had similar sort of doubts. We went through similar sort of checks and balances that you guys have done. Is it a bona fide club and what have you? But also what you mentioned earlier on about how they ensure that the partner clubs get publicity as well. I noticed in a few of the other photographs you showed, your club name was very prominent in some of the photographs there. And again, I know from experience that Henry made sure that Clinton and other clubs who got involved with the malaria project had a massive amount of publicity in their local area regarding it. So they do look after their partner clubs tremendously well. So I think on behalf of our club, thank you ever so much for your time tonight to tell us about this project, and hopefully allay any fears some of our members had. I don't think we had too many worries ourselves, to be honest, but just to help explain things there. So on behalf of our club, thank you ever so much. Just looking around, are there any final questions before we close the meeting? Seeing none. As mentioned, I will put a recording of the meeting on our club Facebook page very shortly, and also once I've got Shannon's presentation and the document that she referred to, I will send that on to everyone, and I would also send a copy of the document that we've been sent from Henry regarding the menstrual health project. And I see Maureen's got her hand up, so Maureen.
If you're going to finish the meeting, I'd just like to thank everybody for coming this evening and listening to Shannon's presentation. It's really put our minds at rest that, you know, they are a worthwhile club, and, you know, they really do need our help. And I hope that we can get this project off the ground, because it's something that I certainly would like to support. So thank you to everybody, and I'd like to send the greetings of Plymouth Roborough to all your clubs. Nos salutations à votre club.
And just to let you know, Maureen, we've also got a friend of mine from Georgia as well. Great to have you with us this evening as well. So a truly international meeting this evening.
Yeah.
And thank you to our AG for attending this evening. Nice to see you again, Keith.
It's good to be back with you too. And I think next year we're going to see a fantastic increase in Rotary awareness. So, and congratulations to Darren. Sorry, that's
yes, because Darren, our secretary Darren, has just been elected as the district governor nominee for next year.
Oh,
for our district.
Thank you very much. So yes, 26, 27, I will be district governor. So exciting times ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, everyone. Thank you again ever so much for joining us this evening. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and hopefully see you all soon.
Good night and au revoir.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Shannon.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Shannon. Yes.